Hey friends, Hannah here. My banana brain thought of the day. Confusion kills us faster than guilt. Okay, so a little disclaimer before we get started. These Bible studies, again, I mentioned this last time, they are not necessarily conclusive thoughts, but they're conversation starters. I believe that, holding all the right answers, that's actually way less important than simply just dwelling on the mind of God and spending time learning. So that's what we're doing when we think of these banana brain thoughts. So today I studied Job chapter 16, wherein Job finally starts back-talking his friends after all their terrible advice that they're dishing at him. So in the last little episode we talked about Eliphaz and his horrible advice that totally didn't apply to Job at all. And in the same instance, each of his friends has spent time just lecturing Job, saying that he must be so sinful and wicked, and he's got to be a secretly horrible guy in order to deserve this endless loss and suffering that Job has been experiencing. And time again, throughout all this, Job is standing up for himself, and he's saying, look, I know I have not done anything wrong. And even the chapter of this title, he calls his friends miserable comforters for constantly accusing him instead of believing him. So towards the middle to end of this chapter, in 16, verse 16 and 17, he repeats this notion. And he says, though my face is red with weeping, and on my eyelids there is deep darkness, there is no violence in my hands, and my prayer is true. So when I study the Bible, I like to use commentaries just to kind of guide discussion and provide context. And all of the commentaries that I've read on Job's purity talk about how amazing it is that he's got a guilt-free conscience. But I kind of wondered, is there a flip side to that? How much more would it suck to absolutely know that you don't deserve any of the pain you're receiving? I mean, forget having a clear head if it doesn't do you any good, right? So I wondered if Job would have had an easier time if he really was the bad dude that he was being accused of. Maybe then at least he could be like, okay, well, I admit it, God forgive me, I admit my sin, whatever, repent, and then all the pain ends. But that wasn't the case. We tend to think of guilt as this gnawing, persistent voice that just eats away at us. But I don't want to say there's a pro, like a pros and cons. I don't want to say there's a pro to guilt, but in many sufferings, oddly enough, I think there is a sense of solace in saying, I deserve this. Why? One, it puts you back in front of the situation. If you steer a ship into a glacier, even though the boat is sinking, you are still in the captain's chair. You might really suck at whatever you're doing, but you've still got control of the wheel. And two, just being able to connect the dots brings gravity to any situation. X happened because of Y. It makes everything, in the very least, logical. You can still make sense of it. There's something to grasp onto there. And that's why I think confusion is way more brutal than guilt. At the end of the day, which one drives people away from God instead of to Him? Which question is more maddening? Why do I suffer the consequences of evil, or why do bad things happen to good people? So that's my thoughts for the day. I would love to start a conversation with you if you have questions, or maybe there's something here that I'm not thinking of. Shoot me a message. I'm still learning. I want to get some different perspectives on this. Otherwise, chew on this bone a little bit. Use it to meditate on the word today.